Hi, everybody. I'm here with Johnny from Tarotsapprentice, and this is our first collab, as they say in the trade. So I'm using the humble Rider Waite. What deck are you using?
Um, the scary one that scares everybody. It's called Goliath Tarot. It's quite vivid.
Oh, how cool. Well, we're going to do our best to cover some more of, the news that is just rushing in at the moment. So we're going to ask each other a couple of questions each, but we're working towards our big question of the day later on in this reading, which is Trump actually in more danger from within or without? That was Johnny's question. I think it's brilliant. Okay, so let us start. The first one, first cab off the rank, was Moscow Mitch. So over to you, Johnny. What's going through your head about that stuff?
So Donald Trump is about 9 seconds away from losing his job. It seems like everybody feels that way. But at some point, Mitch McConnell is going to have to get involved. At some point, whether he can stop it or not is a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But when it comes to him, what happens? Let's see.
Okay.
Because he is not the most cooperative person in the world.
No.
But if this was Obama, he would have been at the front of the line with his ticket in hand saying, please get him out of here. But that's neither here nor there. So would he be obstructionist when it comes to impeachment? If the Democrats find something to say, here's what we have, Mitch, it's undeniable, what would he say?
Yeah.
At Nine of Cups, there is a delusion, confusion, wishful thinking in his head. So let's see what crosses that. Six of Swords.
Ouch.
Even though they presented him something that says, this is undeniable, he still believes there's a way out, which kind of gives foresight to say he will obstruct to a point. Like at some point, like in this card, the bird in the nest, she's trying to get her babies to safety. She's fleeing the swords in the She's flying towards the tornado, though. So at some point, you're still going to meet a roadblock that says you cannot pass this point. So even though he has this delusion, he still has this Moscow Mitch chant in the back room that says, either you do what we want you to do or take a hike. So at the bottom of it is the King of Wands. This is my for investigators. This is the person who is in charge of something. This is the person who is leading the charge. They are a person of action, and wands are action, fire is action. But that's not necessarily him until it comes to something he wants. But again, he has a roadblock. He still has to get past somehow. So they need an action from him. Donald Trump, the King of Swords. Very vivid,
I love that image.
And then there is the offer he does not want.
Yes.
With the of cups.
Just going back to that previous card, it's like the American eagle about to eat the Trump rat.
Yes. It's the father of the night. That's what he named his cards, and that's what it says. Yeah.
Wow.
And he gets the offer he does not want. It is complete. There is nothing else that needs to be said. There's nothing else that needs to come out. This is the world card. Like, you have all the information that you need. He's guilty of X, Y, and Z. All we need you to do is implement the rest of the verdict. It's complete. And the fear, though, is the Four of Wands. The White House, the completion. He does fear the completion. The Ace of Wands is that brand new idea. The Four of Wands is the completion of that brand new idea. He fears the completion. The environment is the struggle to balance with the Two of Pentacles. So even though, like I said, in his head, everything is, I don't really want to go through this. I don't want to impeach the president. This is our guy. Our team is losing, but there is a point in the road that he cannot return to. He still has pets, which is where you get Ace of Cups. There's a new person. So there is a bright spot in all of this, and it's the evangelical man. It's President Pence. And then there's this my card for the GOPs, the Ten of Pentacles. It's all about what we all want. So far, they have 34 out of 100 senators who happen to be Republican, who are in favor of impeachment. So I said this a long time ago, they were going to start turning on him, and now they have. So once the party speaks out, the new person can step in, then Mitch McConnell can lick his wounds in private or break his arm. Either way, I don't care. But he will stand in the way until he has no choice. Now, moving from the grotesque to the grotesquer, William Barr.
Ooh, yuck, yes.
Is he going down or not? Because we see him, everybody's saying that he's in the midst of the crime, that he is gone rogue, says Nancy Pelosi. Good. He's withholding information, that he knew about this and covered up that. He's the cover-up to the cover-up, is what they said.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Lena,
He's like the Ubermeister, isn't he, of this? And
So-
all right, so that's my call. So let me just have a look at the truly foul and treacherous William Barr. Oh, dreadful creature. Okay. Well, you know what? I think Nancy Pelosi can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think she is turning her laser vision onto this man. At the top, disappointment. I think he's disappointed that the show is over. I think he thought he'd have another year at the top of the Christmas tree milking it. I think it's his disappointment, not our disappointment. Why? It shows how out of touch these people are. I don't think he read this coming, because I don't think he would have been as complicit. We can't even use the word now. Ivanka's gone and stolen it. If it's complicit, then I'm complicit. But he is so complicit. But I don't think he actually saw it coming, which is the only extraordinary thing I can imagine, you know. So he saw himself, Page of Wands, as being able to talk his way out of anything. After all, I'm the Attorney General.
That's his power.
He's an out-and-out mercenary, so this is all about feathering the retirement nest. I just hope Rico comes and bites them on the ass with this stuff. These guys should not be able to retire with squillions, you know. He's a mercenary. He has no soul. You can't appeal to the man's conscience because it doesn't work. He, you know, it's a part of his body that doesn't function. So the mercenary. The sword of truth coming forward, along with Nancy. So the answer to the question, I hope, is right, is he's not only just going to get caught up in it, he's going to be the subject of his own little very special series of indictments. That's how I see it. Okay. Now, Giuliani, really, he's taking vaudeville to a whole new level, isn't he? It's like, he's like the old circus performer, you know, who doesn't want to retire, and he's now got a crack habit or something. He's so bizarre. To think he's an actual trained lawyer, the first thing any lawyers say to their client, it doesn't matter if you're picked up in your car on the side of the road or anywhere else, is don't speak, just don't speak. Say nothing. And there he is. So over to you, Johnny. What's happening?
He probably went to the law school of like Sally Jesse Raphael or something, because he talks way too much. He got his degree in a talk show studio. He had to.
I think
All he
so, or in
cares.
a Cheetos pack or something. You
It came in his Happy Meal.
know, when he was 11, and he just kept hold of it.
Because he likes the limelight. He likes
Yeah.
to be important. He likes to feel important. And
Do you
so
think? Do you think narcissism's catching? Do you think because he's as narcissistic as Trump?
I think it is because you get closer to a person who is so self-centered as Donald Trump. You can't help but be, because suddenly once you leave his
Yeah,
presence anyway, it's also about you because you
yeah,
know the guy in charge. And I know the president. It's kind of like Chris Christie has a little bit of that too. He knows the president.
yeah,
He talks to the president. Okay, big
yeah,
good for you.
yeah.
So does his medication. So get in line.
Mm,
So,
right.
but he has a narcissistic thing too.
Mm.
But he had a talk he was supposed to do at a Russian sponsored event that he canceled. I wonder why. Let's see. Oh, how do you? I don't know. How do you deal with these people?
I
Yeah.
Well, I'm intrigued about Giuliani because, surely he's got to get caught up in this maelstrom.
He's just. I don't think. Yeah, he's definitely a narcissist because he doesn't know when to stop.
Yeah, that's right.
Just like Trump, they
It's
don't know when to stop.
literally out of control.
Yes, they don't know, and I don't think he wants to. Like not until he gets in concrete trouble. They can threaten
Mm,
him all they want to, but until somebody does something,
mm, mm,
it doesn't mean anything.
mm.
His first card, why did he cancel? High Priestess. So backroom deals. Why not? Ace of Wands, there is an action. So the action is secret. So there is a secret phone call. There's a secret communication that has happened between him and somebody over there. And it set this whole thing up. Russia also contacted the US and says, we don't want you to release transcripts of calls between Trump and Putin. I wonder why. So he has the same thing going on. So if Trump would get caught up in something Russia related, so will Giuliani. The devil
Mm.
crosses these two cards, kills the priest. Ace of coins, money. Ace of swords, victory. Justice, dark money. It's like so.
It's all just there, isn't it?
It's like at some point,
Oh,
I understand that it's easy to feel invincible when everything you do you get away with.
yeah.
But everything you do also adds up. And
Mm.
then once it comes crumbling down, it all comes crumbling down at the same time. And there's only
Yes,
so
that's what
much
we're
court
seeing.
lawyers can do for you.
Mm, mm.
But
And also in the modern world, nothing disappears.
no, at all.
Nothing really disappears.
At all. There is a thing right now, it's happening in Europe. They want it to happen here, called the right to be forgotten. Which if you delete something, they want it to be deleted forever. But anything you put out there
Yeah,
goes somewhere else and it's saved forever,
yeah,
especially if it's in the cloud and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
he has
It's like
justice.
plutonium. You can't get rid of it.
There's money around his justice. So
Ah,
he has to pay for it. Walking away is in his fear, the abandonment. What he does not need, what any of them, like Michael Flynn, Michael Cohen, Michael Jackson, whoever it is, they all fear that they get close to the narcissistic one and he leaves them. Now, this is
ah,
what you would call, I think it's pronounced stupid, because at some point you have to know that if you get close to Donald Trump is not a loyalist. He demands that of you, but he does not say he's going to give that in return.
no.
So your fear is realized, Giuliani, because once you're on the hot seat, guess what he's going to say? He's going to go to Nancy or whoever and says, I wish you can let this Barr thing go, or I wish you can let this Mulvaney thing go. I wish you can let this Giuliani thing go, like he said about Michael Flynn. I wish you can let the Flynn thing go. And then when they say no, he said, okay. And then he goes off on his own way. Same
Yeah.
thing. He
Yeah.
didn't take up for Michael Cohen, and Michael Cohen had all the secrets. What's he
Yeah.
going to do for you, Giuliani? Your hopes is the Five of Swords, to get away and win at all costs.
Yes.
Of course it is. In your environment is the Fool and the struggle to balance.
Mm.
Donald
I
Trump
know.
and your struggle to balance.
Have you seen a less balanced man outside of Trump himself?
A blind man on a pogo stick.
Yeah, totally.
His word of warning is the King of Wands. Someone is
Ooh.
investigating you already. So,
Mm.
beware. Uphill battle is in your solace. God answers all prayers. Sometimes the answer is no. There's no solace for you. It's just there. It's just not. But there are bonds and hopes for the future. So you do have some connections still that you can call upon. But if you want to be the center of attention, congratulations. Here you go. As you star. But everything centers around your engagements, the people you know, the people you're with, the people you do business with. Yeah.
Look, I think the best he can hope for is a luxury mental health facility as opposed to Rikers Island, you know. I think they're going to have to adjust.
He is nuts.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
from that to the fake, Mike Pence. Now Mike Pence is just he's at the forefront right now because he stands at any time to be president. So, is he in illegal trouble? Will it just he go in to be president for 10 minutes and he's back out? What happens?
Yeah, let's look at Mike Pence. I know. Apparently, a lot of this is driven by the fact that Mother wants to be First Lady. Let's have a look at Pence. So I'm looking at Pence here.
Mother and father.
Well, yeah. Will he be in legal trouble himself? He might squeak out of it. Okay, so as we speak, he's in repose and in retreat. How would you know? You know, he doesn't do or say anything in any context. I mean, so really. So this is Mike Pence being quiet and out of sight. Wow. Okay. He's been made the offer that is the last thing that he wants. Now, that's not being offered the presidency because that's what he's been waiting for. He's been just towing the line. So what is that offer? You know what I mean? Like, is it saying we're going to stick with Trump at least into the new year or something and he wants him out now or something? So it's not the big question answered. They're offering him something else. He, in his quiet little twisted brain, is having revenge fantasies. Now, Trump and Pence have never got on. There's no natural affinity between them as men. I'm sure he thinks of Trump as a smart-ass New York real estate agent, you know, upmarket, and is not impressed by that. I'm sure Trump thinks of Pence as this boring nobody. So there's no affinity between them. But I think he's been waiting on a promise from the GOP that was said or unsaid. And now they're I don't want to say, I'm trying not to swear, they're messing with his head. Okay, I got there in the end. The GOP is messing with Pence's head. Right, they had a sort of plan B and he thought beauty, now's the time, and they're not coming through. Judgment's coming down, and I thought, yeah, great, but the next cards are a bit softer. So he will be scrutinised as part of this, but I think he's going to get out of it, at least the Ukraine story. He's bloody lucky he didn't get on that plane, you know, when Trump pulled him off.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going the King of Cups, which is a bit softer, and the Sun. So I think there isn't time in the context of this reading to go further into, I think, his likelihood of presidency, but the sun is shining on him at the end of this phase. So yes, it could happen, or yes, the promise will be reinstated that if we get rid of him next year, it'll be you. We all know there's lots of spins of the world between now and next week, let alone next year. But at the moment, I think he's going to get out from under with the Ukraine stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, while all this has been going on in the States, the UK has been eating its own children, really. It could be the end of the United Kingdom, something that I must say, as a Republican Australian, nothing would make me happier than to see the UK disintegrate. But that's the Irish in me. Speaking as a political commentator, this is not good. This is not good. And Boris, let me just tell you a little bit about Boris, because I was living in the UK in the 70s, and he was obviously 40 years younger too. So he was out there at the time. Now, he comes from a family with Russian connections. His real name is Alexander Sasha, right? He's always had Russian connections. And he's always been a man of Europe and the world. So this whole craziness does not make sense. And I asked Violetta, has Putin got compromat? Don't you love that word? On Boris. And she thought he did. So Farage, special place in hell candidates, both of them. So I think Boris is going to be up against what we in the parliamentary system call a no confidence vote. Right. It saves doing impeachment. You can have a vote and say, no, this person is inadequate, not up to the task, and a force for destruction. So that's the most likely outcome, followed by a general election. So one way or another, I don't see him in for long. Have you got any thoughts on Boris particularly?
No.
Fair enough.
Because I always figured him and Nigel, like, as much as they hate them, I feel as though unless everybody's on the same page, kind of like over here with Trump, Vladimir Putin's little stooges aren't going anywhere. Unless you can all stand up and say, we stand against this collectively, then it's just another story that next week changes the headline until we hate Boris, and the next thing we're forcing him out, and then, oh, I can't stand him, he's still here. Unless you can all stand together on the same page, nothing happens.
Yep. And they were all the same players that Putin used, Cambridge Analytica and all of that. All the same, you know. Okay, so we're coming up for the big one. So, viewers, the question we're asking, and we're both going to pull cards on it, is Trump in more danger from the Republicans or the Dems? From the inside or the outside?
Like, we think that, the Nazis got him cornered, and then he's up against Nancy, up against Schiff, up against Nadler, up against God and Jesus and everybody else, and we think, oh, this is the end. Trump is on his way out. Everybody's buying all the popcorn they can and the champagne they can find. But he does need Republicans to turn against him because they still have a majority in certain places in the government. So we need that too. But when you look around him, he is not surrounded by loyalists. He's surrounded by people loyal to themselves or who are more loyal to the spotlight. They would give him up in a minute. You know, Pence does not like him. You know, Mulvaney does not like him. Bolton did not like him. All these people have these sort of daggers that they have yet to put in his back, or maybe they have and we just don't know it. And so is he in more trouble from the inside of his cabinet or the outside?
Yeah. Okay, let's look. All right. Okay. The Trump. Oh. Do you want to go first?
Well, I got the Queen of Swords, which I get for the NYAG, Letitia James. So there's
Mm-hmm.
law in the middle. It's also a card I just use for the legal system. So there's
Mm-hmm.
law right there. There is messages about his deeds of the things that he's trying to get away with.
Totally.
There is that win at all costs, and it's all around his own security, his own money. I feel as though the person of interest, the Six of Wands, the person at the center of the stage, that person feels threatened from the inside, but is more threatened maybe from the outside. And
Ah.
I think, quite honestly, both. Because if you are paranoid, sitting in the midst of, like if they say if a bear is coming at you, you're supposed to play dead. That way, it sniffs around you and it moves on. He's sort of in the bear den, and all the advice says stand still, do not move. But the paranoia gets to him, and he starts to flail and scream. So
Yes.
he takes himself out from the inside while the outside still does their job. So I think maybe both.
Now that makes perfect sense. I got the Six of Wands too. All right. And I think it has another implication as well, which is the Republicans are thinking about who the replacement could be
Mm-hmm.
for him.
Because the people at this in particular party are of like mind, so they're holding their wands up for the person they like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And funny that we both should get it. Now, the next two cards, oh, well, the bottom card, first of all, business and commerce over the water. Yeah, right. Where do you get in? These two I put together, and I think this is his Achilles heel. The unwanted proposition comes his way. And the Empress has always been my Ivanka card. This is his weakness.
Yeah,
I think,
the person of security.
regardless, yes, yes. This is what worries him more than anything is losing his personal comfort and wealth. Not even the title, not even the position, but Ivanka. So I also, just going back to this for a moment, this is to me is a fusion of two energies. You could read it as the GOP looking for the new replacement or the Dems riding into town, you know. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
bit ambivalent there, but I'm not ambivalent about the outcome, which is the tower.
I just pulled three cards. That's what I got to.
uh, yeah, and I agree with you. It's actually all those things. I was expecting a bit more layers or leaning one way or the other. And I'm sure both of us could read on that actual question again when we're not so rushed, because I think it's such an important question. But to sum up my mini reading, the Republicans have had enough,
Yeah.
and they are at the stage of their articles, they're drafting their articles of impeachment in reverse, if you like, of going, what does it take to get him out of here? What deal are we going to offer? Are we going to kick him out or just kick him to the curb? Are we going to offer him a home in the Seychelles? Are we going to dangle a pardon? They're having these conversations. Net result, crash, boom.
Oh,
Wow. Well, that was fun.
it was.
All
All the way
right.
from the other side of the world.
It's weird, isn't it? I'm coming to you from Sunday morning. This is so weird. So weird. So we're going to sign off now, guys. and get back to you. So, Johnny, just a little word. Let's debrief in a moment off camera. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you liked it. Ciao.